Coming up, a community is in shock after a high school football player dies.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Hello friends, I'm Steve Hensley. Thank you for staying up late with us tonight. A Southern Kentucky high school student athlete died today after he was injured in a practice game last week. Andrew Dodson was a junior at Pulaski County High School. Chad Hedrick has looked into injuries and deaths related to high school sports.
A young life gone too soon, taken while playing a sport he loved. Tributes from teams and coaches around Kentucky poured in Monday as news spread of Andrew Dodson's death. The junior tight end and defensive end at Pulaski County died after he was hurt at a scrimmage game over the weekend.
That the kid was participating in what would be a normal football action, and he got tackled and hit his head on the ground.
What happened to Dodson is extremely rare, especially in Kentucky. KHSAA Commissioner Julian Tackett says he is not aware of anything other than incidents related to heat or cardiovascular disease over the last decade.
You know, you think of all the concussion things we've seen the last few decades, and you think about helmet to helmet and some big blow, and everything we're hearing is that was not the case.
In an annual study of football injuries by the National Center for Catastrophic Sport Injury Research, they say there were 4.2 million football players in 2021. There were just 4 deaths related to traumatic brain injuries, and all were high school students. 2 were from tackling and included a defensive end.
Technology today is so good at preventing head injuries.
The study finds deaths from exertional or medical conditions while playing football are more common, but were still very low, including 8 cardiac arrests and 2 heat strokes among high school athletes.
That was Chad Hedrick reporting. One of the tributes coming in today was from Kentucky head football coach Mark Stoops. He tweeted his condolences to Andrew's family and team. Both his brother and father replied to the tweet, thanking Stoops and sharing a memory of the 3 of them at the 2021 Florida game when the Cats beat the Gators. They say that is one of their favorite memories.
Well, weather-wise, it is a mild evening all throughout the region. We continue to see temperatures upper 50s to near 60 out there as we continue to see a few clouds in the sky. Here's the view from downtown Somerset at this hour. All is quiet out there, at least weather-wise through the city. Same thing as we take you, well, we had Pikeville there. I'm not sure what happened to it, but it's still around 60 out there at this point in time. Highs today were quite mild. How about mid-70s? Close to upper 70s in parts of the Big Sandy. Now, as we head into the morning hours, your breakfast forecast brought to you always by Frosted Weather Wheats. Very nutritional part of any balanced breakfast. Mid-50s out there. As we head into the morning tomorrow, we're warm as we head into our Tuesday. Details on the warm-up and when we see the potential for strong storms returning in a few minutes. Steve?
Evan, thank you. More than 1,000 customers are still without power after Saturday's high winds. One city hit hard was Prestonsburg. Alex Jackson talked with the mayor to see what comes next on the road to recovery.
A lot of trees down, a lot of power lines out.
The Monday after a weekend of chaos for the city of Prestonsburg, Kentucky, filled with long lists of repairs. A Saturday filled with heavy winds, dropping problems everywhere.
A lot of trees on cars, a lot of homes that lost shingles, a lot of homes that had damage to porches, a lot of fires. You know, down lines caused fires.
Prestonsburg City Hall not even spared from the damage as this tree ripped out from the ground, falling on one of the city's trucks.
It'll take some time to be able to regroup, get contractors out, and get some of this work done.
Along South Lake Drive, an apartment building partially brought down by heavy winds. The road now reopened, but 4 people displaced, and the future status of the building currently unknown. Many in the city were without power for over 24 hours.
Anytime you have a sustained outage, it creates a lot of problems, especially when you get people who have oxygen machines or on-type medical devices and stuff.
The mayor credits his team for their responses to emergencies and also for the information they provided the public before the storm that he says helped keep others safe.
And by getting that information out, they're able to take some measures to try to contain the damage.
Stapleton says the city's crews are always on guard.
Our fire department 24/7, police 24/7, so we've always got people available.
With the storm behind the city, the road to rebuilding starts now.
That was Alex Jackson reporting. The entire Floyd County School District was closed today after this weekend's windstorm. Mayor Stapleton says most, if not all, of the city of Prestonsburg's power, at least, has been restored. But again, at last check, still 1,000 customers without power across eastern Kentucky. Well, after two major weather catastrophes in the last 2 years, the Commonwealth is getting better prepared for the next one. A Kentucky bill signed into law last Monday will help to form a statewide response team for natural disasters and other incidents requiring emergency response. The goal of this Kentucky Urban Search and Rescue Group would not be to replace existing organizations, but to form a new team who trains and works as one cohesive crew. Kelsey Soto sat down with the head of Kentucky Emergency Management to discuss these efforts.
During the devastating tornadoes in western Kentucky and the deadly floods in the east, both times the Commonwealth relied on neighboring states for help.
That tells you that the need is here. And, and what we'll gain by it is we'll gain response time by having one in the state.
House Bill 157 passed both the House and Senate without a single no vote. It was signed into law last Monday by Governor Andy Beshear. The ink made it official in eastern Kentucky, home to horrific floods last summer. Jeremy Slinker is the director of Kentucky Emergency Management and says this project has been in the works for many years.
It'll just open the door for a lot of opportunities in search and rescue that we currently don't have.
The measure would form one statewide urban search and rescue team to respond in disasters within our borders.
If you went into a larger scale disaster, let's say like an earthquake at the New Madrid Fault, then it may affect multiple states, and those surrounding states that we've depended on may not be as available as they were for some of these others.
A report is due by December 1st with a draft of policies, procedures, and regulations. Director Slinker tells me they are still formulating plans, but admits money will be their biggest hurdle. That funding request will come early next year.
We were wanting to move quickly and show the citizens that we're serious about these disasters and show our first responders and our search and rescue that, we wanted to support them and give them the capabilities.
That was Kelsey Soto reporting. Director Slinker shared his goal is that once this group gets up and going, they'll also be able to respond and assist our other nearby states who have come to Kentucky's aid on many occasions. Prestonsburg Ambulance Service has been on the road for 5 months, and it's already planning to prepare future first responders. The crew of Prestonsburg firefighters is also trained in emergency medical services, so the city decided to open its own ambulance service to better serve the area and utilize trained paramedics during a time when workers are scarce. The group is also taking trainees on calls, working with Big Sandy Community and Technical College and Pikeville's EMTs to give future first responders some hands-on experience.
We're excited to be a part of it, and we were just tickled to death that both of those entities had enough confidence in us to allow us to help train their employees.
Stapleton says the ambulance service has already had more than 530 calls, and he's excited to watch it grow and give to the people of Prestonsburg. As the weather gets warmer, rescuers like those with the London Laurel Rescue Squad are prepared to assist with the numerous ATV-related calls they'll likely get this year. Those with the rescue squad say the best ways to avoid being involved in an ATV-related crash is by becoming familiar with the trail you plan to go on and always wearing protective gear and a seatbelt when riding.
Always wear your seatbelt. We see it all the time where people just clip their seatbelt into the seat and then sit on top of it just because they don't want to be bothered by it. But it's really important to have your seatbelt on. Another thing is to avoid alcohol. I know a lot of people get on the trails and it's the weekend and they want to party a little bit, but that always just makes things more complicated.
Those with the London Laurel Rescue Squad add it's also important for people to go ATV riding in groups in case a crash were to happen. More people can be there to get help. Today, the Foundation for a Healthy Kentucky launched a campaign in an effort to encourage Kentuckians to focus on their health due to effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Ben Chandler, president and CEO of the Foundation for a Healthy Kentucky, says the campaign is called Raise Your Guard Kentucky, and one area they're working on is educating students on healthy living.
One of the audiences that is most important to us, if not the most important audience, is our youth. We want to establish good patterns for young people, good patterns in how they live.
Chandler says the partnership between the Foundation for a Healthy Kentucky and Cabinet for Health and Family Services is supported by a $1 million grant from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The Rising Center in Hazard is in need of volunteers. The center works with survivors of sexual assault. They have various programs, including their Green Dot program that promotes safety and advocating for sexual violence survivors. Volunteer coordinator Sheila Spencer says the work of volunteers is important.
Because right now we don't have very many, but the work is very important. I do understand that it is hard work and it is a lot to take in and a lot to deal with and whatnot, but it's very rewarding in itself.
Spencer says there are more ways for you to become a volunteer. She says even supporting and advocating for victims is helpful. For more information on how to become a volunteer, you can visit their Facebook page. Coming up on this late edition of Mountain News, former President Trump is scheduled to appear in court in a few hours after being indicted on federal charges.
Plus, warm air and storms, an April tale as old as time. Tracking both coming up after this.